So how many of you have been burned by your financial advisor? People either on the end of where you're retiring or people that are newbies or somewhere in between. And when I say burned by a financial advisor, you get really jammed up with all these crazy hidden fees that you didn't realize that you had to pay. And then you're looking at statements and you're turning redder and redder and redder. I know a lot of people, frankly, that's happened to. And then by the time you're done with it, you start thinking, wow, maybe I would have been better off putting my money into something different, managing it myself, whatever it would be, because there's too many fees in this thing. There's too many things that are happening. And is my financial advisor worth what I'm paying? So check this out as part of Technology Tuesday. Audie Apple is joining us. He's developed GuardVest, and it's a measuring tool, a financial measuring tool, kind of like, as somebody described it to me, which really turned me on to the story, like a Carfax report for your portfolio. How many people could use that? Audie, thanks for coming on America Tonight. We appreciate it.
Great. Glad to be here.
What made you decide that you were going to develop this? Did people you know were having problems with this? You thought it would be a really cool thing to do because you saw a need in the marketplace? Or what was it?
My co-founder and I have both been in this industry for a very, very long time, and we've had lots of, senior leadership roles, from just being advisors ourselves in the early days to running advisory businesses, product development. I mean, everything around and associated with delivering investment advice to individuals. And in the 20-plus years we've both been in, there's been an absolute explosion in complexity, variety, and unfortunately, opaqueness of the products that Wall Street uses to engage individual investors. So much so to the point that an individual investor just doesn't have a fighting chance, not only to know how much they're actually paying in total fees, but even to very crudely and simply measure how are they doing versus other people like them. It just don't have a tool that answers that question for them. My partner and I decided we're going to fix that.
So tell us about GuardVest. What does it do?
Essentially, GuardVest, it's sort of the core functionality of what GuardVest is. We refer to it as the advisor report card. And so what the advisor report card is you very quickly and simply can link your investment account, confidentially, by the way, without anyone else knowing or seeing what's going on, in about 60 to 90 seconds see a report card that gives you a score or a grade, if you will, on three key objective and very quantifiably measurable metrics. That is, your returns versus other investors like you, how much risk are you actually taking in your portfolio, and by the way, how much are you paying in total expenses? And you get to see all of those in the context of other users, other investors like you. That's what GuardVest is here to do for you.
Wow. And they wouldn't know that you're doing it.
No, your advisor doesn't know you're doing it. No one else. And that's, there's a variety of things that's just wrong with this business. One of the ones that I like to point out is how do you get an objective second opinion? If you had an attorney and you're not sure the advice is exactly right, you go see another attorney, talk to him about it, and you get a second opinion. Think about the conundrum that an individual investor has, right? You've got this investment advisor that you're working with. You're not really sure they're doing a great job for you, but how do I get a second opinion? Well, first of all, people's personal financial statements is a very personal thing, right? It's a big deal to actually get financially naked with someone new. And then, by the way, even if you overcome that hurdle and you're willing to do it, what are the odds that other advisor is going to look at all of your statements and go, you know what, Audie, your current advisor is actually doing a good job. You should probably just stay right there. I don't think so. Their advice is going to be, you're not getting good advice. You need to move your account over to me. So why even bother? So GuardVest is this tool that it leverages technology to give you a report card to say, do I have a problem or not? And that's what we're here to do. So now you can get an objective second opinion, which, by the way, and this is critical, GuardVest, we are not an advisor. We can't be your advisor. We're not compensated by financial services firms. We are as pure as the driven snow when it comes to objectivity.
I like that, especially when it comes to finances, pure as the driven snow. So
That's a high bar.
It's a high bar, yeah. And you're right. There's no way to do this. I've been in this conundrum when I flip stocks over from a company. I've talked about it on the air with people that have 401ks and stuff. So it's like you talk about what's quantifiable, the returns, the risks, and the expenses, and you measure that against just an incredible amount of data that you have. Is that how that works?
Exactly. I mean, first of all, we've been in the industry for a very, very long time. There's lots of industry data to give you a frame, a context against which to evaluate those numbers. And then as we build scale more and more, we'll also have this second framework, which are other users of the service. It'll be sort of like crowdsourcing, right? I mean, as more and more people sign up for the service, the tool gets better and better for the users.
Yeah, wow. So in saying that it's a tool, so it's a technology tool, if somebody signs up and they get it, what is it? Is it software? Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, it's not a software that you download. I mean,
right.
It's a website, right? I mean, we use, technology to link to your accounts, literally like in, 1 to 2 minutes, you can create a GuardVest account and link an investment account. So we populate your dashboard and give you that report card. So there's software that's resident on our servers that's doing the work for you.
Got it. And wow, what a cool idea. And as you said, because you had so much experience in the business, the co-founder, the two of you were looking at this, did you just decide, geez, we're the most popular guys at the cocktail party because everybody wants to know, is this right? Am I getting ripped off? Is this the right thing that's happening? Because in a way, investing is like being at the craps table and you're not sure who's throwing the dice in the right direction. So you're using all that information and funneling it in.
Absolutely. I would say that there's two pieces to the answer to that question. One of my roles was for a major, the largest family office in the country, and we could only deal with very, very large accounts, and it was $10 million and up. And there was somebody that was referred to us that didn't have $10 million, and I had a few conversations with the fellow and said, hey, I can't do it. Of course, he didn't believe me. I mean, the guy had $7 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? And he just didn't really believe that I wouldn't take his account. I couldn't help him as his advisor because he didn't have $10 million. Well, after like 3 or 4 encounters with the guy, he finally sunk in that, hey, guess what? I mean, this guy really isn't going to be my advisor. And he said to me, well, I am kind of surprised, but would you mind giving me some advice as I think through my other alternatives and try to make a good decision? I said, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. And it was amazing. Like, from one moment to the next, the dynamics of the conversation changed profoundly. And I realized immediately the guy never completely trusted me until that moment because he thought that I was just being a clever salesman and I wanted to sell him something. And even though I was being every bit as transparent and honest and high integrity before, he didn't believe me. And I was like, wow, you cannot be in the position to sell. If you have a horse in the race, you cannot earn somebody's trust. That's number one, okay? Number two, in the fall of 2008, the capital markets environment that we all rely on to build our investment portfolios over time changed forever, okay? We live in a radically different capital markets environment. In my career, in the first 20 years, a moderate risk portfolio that an advisor might construct for an investor to save for retirement or what have you could legitimately be expected to give you 8.5%, maybe even 9.5% return. Mm-hmm. You take a couple percentage points, and frankly, probably even a little more than that, say 2.5% off in total fees. There's still a lot of food on the table to feed the investor. Now, fast forward the clock to today. We're in a zero interest rate policy environment from our Federal Reserve System for a lot of reasons that your listeners may be well aware of. And there's not a credible investment advisor on Wall Street that would tell you that 60-40 portfolio that used to give you 9% is going to give you anything more than, say, 5.5%, maybe 6% if you're lucky. Oof. Now, take 2.5% out of that, there's not enough food on the table anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? Our point with GuardVest and what was really the catalyst to say, we got to go do this, this industry needs to be changed, is what investors are doing today is the moral equivalent of paying 8.5% on your mortgage right now. Why would you do that? You can't do it.
You can't do it, because then when you get to when you're young and you think you're going to live to be 150 and you're going to conquer the world, it's different. You start to get older, you start to realize, oh man, are you kidding me? Look at all the money I lost. And that's what happens. As you said, there's not enough food on the table. So what's the reaction to GuardVest been?
Well, let me tell you, that's interesting, right? Investors love it. They're like, I can't believe nothing's out there like this. I mean, when do I sign up? I mean, every investor wants to know, right?
Right.
Advisors, depending on your data source, somewhere between 300,000 and 600,000 advisors in the country. Wide range, just lots of different data sources. And we're not everybody's friend, right? I mean, advisors that have a fiduciary standard of care for their clients don't amplify their income and their take by selling products to generate commissions or compensation over and above the stated fees. Those guys and gals love us, right? The installed constituents, the incumbents, if you will, the high-cost infrastructure, they're not a big fan of this. We had as we first were getting this thing off the ground, we had one of the major independent advisory firms just thought this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. They could really use this tool to reach investors and build business. And then they had this sort of epiphany moment, and they said, well, wait a minute, how can we make sure nobody uses this tool against us? Well, and my answer to that question was, well, what are you hiding? I mean,
yeah.
Hey, if you've got something to hide, we're not your friend.
I like that. Audie, thank you so much. Audie Apple, co-founder of GuardVest. Check it out, guardvest.com. Thank you.
Oh, you bet.